We're good people. We love our son. We've done everything we can. People say we'd move mountains, we'd do this, we'd do that. You've never been in our situation. You don't know what it's like.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video right here, we're going to take a look into the mysterious disappearance of DeOrr Kunz Jr. I very briefly covered this case in a Missing 411 video I did a while back. In that video I talked about, the for and against people of David Paulides. And while I don't believe there's anything paranormal about people going missing in the woods, I think I ultimately came to the conclusion that he does more good than harm, and he brings attention to cases that may otherwise be forgotten. And the reason we're going to take a look at the disappearance of DeOrr Kunz is that there has recently been some more news. New searches have been undertaken, and as recently as the past few weeks, search teams have said they believe they may be closer to finding an answer or something. They haven't released anything yet as of this video, so let's take a look. On Friday, July 10th, 2015, 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr., his mother Jessica, his father Vernal DeOrr Sr., his great-grandfather Bob, and Isaac, who was a friend of Bob, traveled 120 miles from Idaho Falls to DeOrr to go camping. The group was camping at Timber Creek Campground in a remote, mountainous area. Upon arrival, they set up camp. That morning, DeOrr Sr. and Jessica say they took DeOrr Jr. to a general store for supplies and snacks after cooking up a full breakfast. Following their return to camp, Jessica and DeOrr Sr. went looking for a place to fish, leaving DeOrr Jr. in the care of Bob and Isaac. DeOrr Sr. said they made it about 50 yards from the site before discovering some minnows he thought DeOrr Jr. would love to see. And upon returning to their camp, which as I said was only 50 yards away, they found that DeOrr Jr. had just vanished. Bob said he was last seen playing with his toy cars under a tree, about 10 minutes before DeOrr Sr. and Jessica came back. At 2:30 p.m., Jessica called 911.
What's the address of your emergency?
I'm actually camping in DeOrr, just outside of DeOrr.
Uh-huh.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
How long has he been missing?
About
an hour?
Yeah.
Jessica?
Yeah.
Okay, what is he wearing?
He was wearing cowboy boots, a blue, pair of pajama pants, and a camel jacket.
How tall is he? Hello?
I'm not exactly sure how. He's about.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your husband calling too?
All down where we were camping at, and we can't find him at all.
Okay, we need you to stay within cell service. We've got people going on the way.
Thank you.
The search crew arrived quickly, and the operation to find DeOrr Jr. began. Just over an hour after DeOrr vanished, the 2-mile radius around the area was quickly swarmed by officers from the county sheriff's office. Search and rescue crews used all-terrain vehicles to comb the landscape, while divers scoured the nearby reservoir. Searchers looked on horseback, ATVs, foot, and in water for DeOrr. One area of concern was a creek about 15 yards away from the campsite. That area was searched numerous times. On Sunday, July 12th, the county sheriff's office reported nearly 200 volunteers showed up to look for DeOrr. Volunteer search efforts were then suspended, but deputies say trained professionals continued to look for the boy. For 2 weeks, they looked in the surrounding areas, but eventually, the search was called off.
You're the God of all comfort, Lord, that you would comfort the heart of Jessica and DeOrr and Trina, Lord, and just those who love this little boy, Lord Jesus.
We will find him.
One way or another, we will find him, no matter what it takes.
We want people to know his face, and when they leave their house, we want people to know to be on the lookout for our son.
There has been no trace of DeOrr Jr. since then. So, what really happened to DeOrr Jr.? Did he wander off into the wilderness, potentially being killed by a wild animal? Or did he ever actually go on the camping trip at all?
We're trying to hold up the best we can, but we have hope is the thing. Hope is what keeps it going. Hope is because the search is not over, search is not done. We will find him, no matter what.
You were in the truck, so was it you that first realized, oh no, DeOrr's not here?
No, we both did.
No, we both did.
After 20 minutes of up and down the creek and up and around the camp,
No sound of him,
this little
no
boy
crying.
he's a goer and a mover, but he does not go away from his parents.
As months passed, suspicion mounted against Jessica and DeOrr Sr.
Rumors that are going around I have heard everything from why you would make a rumor that has to do with a 3-year-old is, if you're not going to help, please don't. If it's not helpful. Yeah, this is a 2, almost 3-year-old we're talking about. Please help us.
The couple got a divorce. They were evicted from the apartment they lived in with their child, and Jessica remarried soon after. And these stories, each person who was there told, they were all conflicting. 3 people there were family members, and the fact that Bob's friend Isaac was there has never really been explained. He had never met the parents before, and it kind of seems that in interviews after that Bob didn't know him that well either.
Do you trust Isaac?
But for what? I mean,
Would you trust him to spend the night in your house?
no,
Would you trust him to watch your grandson?
no,
Do you trust him to not steal your money?
no.
Why are you friends with him? If you don't trust him, why would you?
Well, you know what? That's a hell of a question.
You're right.
I had my eye on what was going on all the time. And that's the way it is.
All the family members point their finger at him, saying he must have had something to do with the disappearance.
I never really got a feel for him, like his personality. He really didn't talk to us. Really kind of was just odd.
Said, when you came walking up to camp, did you see my son? Did you cross paths? The response I got pissed me off. Because he said, and I quote, I don't know. I looked at him, I said, when is the last time you seen my son?
However, after the police and investigators interviewed every person multiple times, Isaac was the only person who never, ever changed his story about what happened that day.
Well, a lot of people thought that you were involved.
Yeah, that I am aware of.
What would you say to those people that think you somehow had something to do with his disappearance?
Well, I'd say just, a lot of people, they don't know me, so the unknown is scary, so what they don't know, people are afraid of. So I just have to say, just because a person looks some way, you shouldn't judge them just because of how they look.
What do you remember what happened up there?
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you remember the last time you saw little DeOrr?
No comment.
Okay, but he was up there.
Yes, that he was.
He was up there, you saw him, you know he was there.
Yes.
After DeOrr's disappearance, the family hired Philip Klein of Texas-based Klein Investigations and Consulting after raising $20,000 in a GoFundMe campaign. And they probably wish they didn't hire him, because get this, after the parents were evicted from their apartment for not paying rent, the private investigator, Philip Klein, searched leftover furniture and clothing at the apartment complex. During the search, they found 4 Matchbox cars that were previously described by the parents as missing, and they did not know where they were, as well as a camo jacket that the boy's parents say he was wearing on the day he went missing.
And a camo jacket.
The jacket he was supposedly wearing when he vanished was in their apartment the entire time. Police then confirmed they were dealing with a possible homicide. No arrests have ever been made, but Jessica and DeOrr Sr. are the main suspects. Now, Philip Klein wasn't the first private investigator to help on this case. They had previously worked with Frank Vilt, another private investigator and friend of the family. However, early in the investigation, he quit the case.
And I said, I am withdrawing from the investigation. My stipulation was both of you would be absolute truthful. In my professional opinion, both of you lied and misrepresented the true facts that could possibly solve the mystery of your missing son. Sooner or later, the truth will come out. When a mother has lost her child, she looks into a camera and says, I want my child. Please help me find my child. I love my child. But she didn't want to do that.
Evidence continued to build against the parents, as there was no evidence their son was ever at the site. Philip Klein was fired shortly after by the immediate family, but rehired by an unnamed family member and continued his investigation. In 2017, he withdrew from the case, feeling his investigation could no longer continue, as the family were being uncooperative and less than truthful about the disappearance of their child.
The bottom line is you've interviewed everyone, you've looked at all of the evidence, you've done an investigation. What do you think happened here?
What I think happened was, I think we have the child that possibly, and I'm going to say that word possibly, because we don't have anybody that has seen that child from the night before. We have two family members that have both lied on not only their polygraph tests, but on their witness statements.
You're talking about mom and dad.
We believe what has happened, yes, mom and dad have both told us, now we're up to 6 stories on dad and 4 stories on mom. So basically what we have is we have 2 parents that say they brought their child up to this mountain on a camping trip when we don't have any evidence that child made it up there on that camping trip. But let's go with what they do say, and if they do say they did bring them up there, then we do know something happened up on that mountain, basically for 2 reasons. We have blood evidence that was taken by the FBI on the wheelbase of a truck and also the bumper of a truck, number 1. And number 2, we also have the consistent statement, and I think it's interesting to try to vilify Isaac Renoir based upon a supposed mental history. Mr. Renoir has been the only one that has kept his story straight.
According to the sheriff, there were no credible witnesses to say they had definitely seen DeOrr at the campground. And so it's possible he was never there at all. The parents went to the store that morning with DeOrr to get some supplies. However, the police and investigators failed to find any credible sightings outside of the family, including store CCTV and witness testimony, that DeOrr was ever there. However, Bob and Isaac both continued to say he was there, he was at the campground, he was with us the entire time until he vanished. And obviously the parents continue to say that as well. If Isaac and Bob are covering up for the parents, that we don't know.
Were you surprised that the parents were named as suspects?
Yeah, actually I kind of was, a little bit.
Why is that?
It's just, it's because of all the theories and everything that's been going around, it doesn't feel like or seem like anybody knows what's going on.
In 2016, a year after DeOrr vanished, during a 5-day search of the area, a trained cadaver dog hit on 5 different targets, including a site about 3/4 of a mile from the Lador campground. Investigators believe the site may have been a holding site for a human body. In 2017, the family of DeOrr filed a lawsuit against Philip Klein for breach of contract, infliction of emotional distress, libel, slander, and fraud.
He's just trying to talk to the jury pool. That's all he's trying to do. He's trying to vilify me.
When Klein used that line on me and said, I'm not even allowed to be in the same room with you to discuss this. And I said, on what basis? He says, it's under Texas law. I'm not allowed to. And I said, well, you're in Idaho, sir.
This was because Klein gave his opinion and talked about the inconsistency in the family's stories. Blood found on the tire of a truck, a positive hit from a cadaver dog, and DeOrr Sr. and Jessica failing multiple lie detector tests when asked if they knew what happened to their son.
This is a man that's been wronged.
by Mr. Klein and by a lot of people listening to Mr. Klein and believing his lies. He said that he had access to Jessica's interviews with the FBI, and that during the course of those interviews that Jessica was burning him and saying that it was all Vernal. Vernal did everything. And that's false. And Jessica didn't say anything like that.
I am going to announce to you today that Jessica herself has told investigators on our team she knows where the body is, but she will not go all the way and finish her story.
The FBI would never share interviews with Mr. Klein anyway, and they never shared any polygraph information with Mr. Klein.
Vernal going in for 5 polygraph tests. 5 polygraph tests from different polygraph test administrators, state, local, and federal government. And the bottom line to that is, Vernal not only failed all 5, he failed all 5 in the 99th percentile. Then we move to Jessica, and we give Jessica 4 different tests. Law enforcement does. And Jessica fails not only to the 99th percentile, but she can't even pass simple control questions.
No, he's in no position to say anything like that. Klein is out there making false statements to the world, and they're absolute fabrications about failing polygraph tests and about lying repeatedly and changing a story. None of that stuff is true.
I see the comments. I've been called scumbag, I've been called murderer, I've been called baby killer, I've been called all kinds of things. I don't want your apology. You know what, how about this? Quit judging next time you see things you don't understand. If it's on Facebook, you're not Facebook detectives, you're not keyboard warriors.
This is what County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman had to say about volunteers and people seeking to donate to the search for DeOrr. They need to know that Mom and Dad are being less than truthful, and they can make a decision on whether to donate based on that. We've interviewed them multiple times, and every time there are changes to parts of their story. The little things all change every time we speak to them. We re-interviewed them, but they aren't willing to tell us the truth. Bob and Isaac were at the scene, so we won't rule them out. But in terms of persons of interest, I think Mom and Dad are higher on the list.
They could not pass the section on, do you know where DeOrr Kunz is at this time, and do you know what happened to him? They could not pass those 2 parts of the polygraph. We've given them too many opportunities to tell us what happened if it was an accident, and there's been no interest in going that direction. So that tells me there's only one other possibility. It has to be a homicide.
In May 2019, a judge dismissed most of the lawsuit against Philip Klein, as no evidence was presented that proved that what Philip Klein said, that he thinks that the parents may have done something to their child, no evidence against that was presented. In April 2019, a new private investigator became involved in the search. David Marshburn, who co-founded the Search for Me Foundation, has become part of the investigation. On a new Facebook page called DeOrr Kunz Jr.'s Voices, updates are continually shared regarding the case. And just these few past weeks, at the end of June 2019, the police closed off the area where they had been camping 4 years previous. David Marshburn's cadaver dogs seem to have found some sort of scent. They say the dogs have given them a hard alert, as in they definitely seem to be onto something.
Our dogs are cadaver dogs. They find cadaver scent, human cadaver scent. So when they do an alert, we are pretty confident that they're finding remains of a human, but are we saying, can we 100% say it's DeOrr? No. Can we say it's an Indian from way back? No. We don't know what's 100% there. We just know the confidence in our dogs that there is human remains of some sort there. It's just what?
And it'll remain to be seen if they do find anything at all related to the disappearance of DeOrr Kunz Jr. But it's something we should keep an eye on, as there will probably be more updates soon. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to see some more of my videos, please press the subscribe button if you wanna. And as always, I will see you real soon in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.